Okay, so to make the cup, the basic cup, we're going to start with the slip knot on our hook. And chain 7. Okay, and then we're going to work into the second chain from the hook and make a single crochet, and then single crochet all the way to the end, making 6 single crochets all together. Okay, there we go, 6 single crochets. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work around, and then we're going to single crochet back along, 1 single crochet in each stitch. So once again you will have 6 single crochets. One at the end often likes to fold over to the front, so just watch out for that. Okay, so 6 single crochets. Now we're going to start increasing our rows to make it wider. So row 3, we are going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 2 in the first stitch, and then 4 single crochets along, 4 along, and 2 into the last stitch. You now have 8 single crochets, and you can see it's just starting to widen there. Okay, so you should have 8 single crochets. Now for row 4, you're just going to chain 1, turn it around, and single crochet back across. So 8 single crochets. There we go. Row 5, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work around, and we're going to make another increase. So 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 6 single crochets along, 6 along, and 2 single crochets in the last stitch, and you now have 10 single crochets, and it's gone slightly wider, 10 single crochets altogether. So row 6 is another straightforward row, chain 1 and turn, and 1 single crochet back along into each of the 10 single crochets. And there we go. Okay, row 7, we are going to do another increase. So chain 1 and turn, 2 single crochets into the first stitch, 8 single crochets along, 8 along, and then 2 single crochets in your last stitch, 2 in the last stitch. There we go, and you should now have 12 stitches all together. Okay, to continue, we're going to do now 5 rows, rows 8 to 12, 5 rows of just chain 1, turn and work back into each of the 12 stitches. Okay, so 5 rows of just working back along. Okay, so pause the video and restart when you've done those 5 rows of the 12 single crochet. So there we go, I've finished those 5 rows. I'm now up to row 12 and that's how we're looking. Cute, cute, cute. So we are going to do one more row in this colour. So chain 2, turn your work, and then in the first stitch we're going to do a double crochet, in the next stitch a half double crochet, and then a single crochet in the next 8 stitches. Okay, and then in the last 2 stitches we're going to do a half double crochet and then a double crochet in the last stitch. Okay, and then we are going to drop this colour from the hook. So you can just pull up a really long loop and leave it like so, or you can just pull up a loop and pop a stitch marker on if you prefer, or you can use a safety pin, a paper clip, anything you like, or just pull up a really long loop to keep that secure. So that is the end of our basic cup. We're going to use this colour again for a last row, but we're going to now use the colour of our drink and make a row of to look like drink. So I'm going to use this yellow. I don't really have a colour to hand in this chunky yarn other than the yellow that would make a good drink colour. So I don't really know what drink I'm making. Maybe a turmeric latte maybe. I've heard that's a really good drink to try and have. Golden, is it called golden milk or something? So anyway, I'm going to use this yellow just for the sake of demonstration. If I was using my regular yarn, I might use this sort of tea colour, or you could use a colour for a black coffee, a latte. You could use, I don't know, a green. You could have a matcha latte or something. Your choice. Okay, so grab the colour for your drink. Okay, so I have my stitch secured over here, and then turn your work over and then join your yarn into the very first stitch. That will be the last stitch you made on the previous row. Okay, join your yarn into that very last stitch, which is now the first stitch of the row we're going to work back along. Okay, so then we are going to chain 1 and then make a single crochet in that very same stitch. I'm going to work over the tail of my yarn just to save sewing anything in. Let's move that around. Okay, so we're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch and a half double crochet in the next, and then we're going to make 6 double crochet, 1 in each stitch, 6 double crochet, okay, 6 double crochet, and then a half double crochet in the next, and a single crochet in each of the last 2 stitches. Okay, and that is your drink. So fasten off this colour. I'm just going to cut this little end off. Okay, so there we go. There is your drink at the top there. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do now is pick up the loop that we dropped, either from your stitch marker or just pull it up if you just dropped it down. And then what we're going to do is slip stitch across these stitches we just made with the drink colour, but in the back loop only. So we normally go under the 2 loops, we're only going to go under the back one. Okay, and we are going to do this fairly loosely, not loose, but not really tight. We're used to making slip stitches quite tightly when we do it to join a round or a row, but this time if we put it tightly, it will bunch up your work, and you don't want that to happen. So just go straight into the first back loop and do a slip stitch, and then you're going to do this in every stitch along. Now I've got slightly splitty yarn, beautiful yarn, but it is made up of several strands that aren't sort of twisted very much. So just take my time. It's gorgeous yarn, lovely and squishy. It's what is it? It's Loops and Threads Capri, and it is so squishy, beautiful. So slip stitch along. This just gives you the top back edge of your cup. Gives it a nice finish. So 1 into each back loop and back at the first or last. There we go. Okay, so don't fasten this off now because we're going to continue. So there we go. Okay, so we've done our slip stitches along the top, and now what we're going to do, just to neaten this up a little bit, is we're going to single crochet along the sides. So down this left, along the bottom, up the right, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the very first slip stitch we made up here on this top row. Okay, so just go into the sides wherever you feel is appropriate. So I'm just going to go into the side of this drink, and then I'm just going to go into the side of each row. Okay, if you're not quite sure what the sides of rows look like, then don't panic, just literally go wherever you feel is right. Okay, so sometimes they will look a bit different. Just go along and make a single crochet into the sides. Okay, there's no right or wrong way about this. You're just making it look neater so that you have this neat edge rather than these bumps at the side of each row. Okay, that's all you're doing. So all the way around, and then slip stitch into your first slip stitch there, but don't fasten off because we're then going to make the handle. So pause the video while you do that, and then I will see you in a moment. There we go, you can see it's a nice neat edge now. So we are now going to make the handle. Okay, we're going to make the handle. So you should have slip stitched into your first slip stitch, and then we are going to chain 1, turn your work around, and then down the side make 2 slip stitches. So into your first 2 single crochets, do a slip stitch. Okay, and then chain 8, Okay, and then skip 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the next stitch do a slip stitch. Okay, so I skipped 5 stitches and then did another slip stitch. Okay, and then you are going to chain 1 and turn your work around, and we're going to do a single crochet into the same stitch that we did a slip stitch. So do a single crochet there just to firm that up. Okay, and then we're going to do 12 half double crochets over around this chain 8. Okay, 12 half double crochets. And then once you start getting full up, you might need to just scooch them down. Let's check how many I have. 6, 8. Okay, 12 half double crochets. Just fills that in nicely. Just scooch them around if you need to, spread them out. Okay, when you've done those 12, you're going to do a single crochet in this next stitch on the side, so the stitch that you slip stitched into before you started your chain. So a single crochet into there, and just as at the bottom, just firms it up nicely. And then do a slip stitch into the next slip stitch. So that's that first slip stitch you made down the side. You might need to use your hook if it's difficult to get into. Just go into there and do a slip stitch. And then you can fasten off. Cut your yarn. Fasten it securely, and there is your finished cup. So just spread these half double crochets around so they look nice and even, and here we go. I'm just going to tuck these ends under, and there is your finished mug. This is the basic mug shape and size, and beautiful. So as you know, I've used thicker, chunkier yarn so that you could see what I was doing, because they aren't very big. This is the size. Actually, it's not that much bigger than this one. This is the one I made using regular DK light worsted weight yarn, and I think I might have used a 4mm hook on that one. It was maybe a year, 2 years ago that I made these, so that's how it looks with that one. And I made a slightly longer handle there as well. Yeah, slightly longer handle. So that is how your basic cup looks, and I love it, love it, love it. And you could just do so many colour combinations, and I'm going to show you some of those right now. Okay, so this is the basic. I'm going to show you it with this colour and yarn now, because this is what I've made my variations with. So this was my chunkier, squishier one with a 6mm hook. And this was regular DK yarn with, I think, a 4 or 4.5mm hook. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this one out of the way. So that's our basic cup shape. Your handle might be slightly smaller and rounded. As you can see, this one is slightly more rounded than this one. It might just be the yarn, how that went. So that's the basic cup. Now, you can make these any shape and size you like. Once you've got the basic pattern down, then you can have a play with it and just do whatever you like. You can have fun with the shapes, sizes, colours, the drink that you put in it, or no drink. So I'm just going to show you some variations here. So you could make it taller. Now if you want to make it taller, I don't have a taller one than this, if you want to make it taller, then when we did the rows of the 12 single crochet, when we did rows 8 to 12, just make more of those rows, just keep going, so it will be tapered here and then it will keep going up, and then you'll do the top. Okay, so just do more of the rows of 12. If you want it wider, then you could start with more chains. So let me show you a wider cup. Show you this one. Okay, so this one has a wider bottom. Okay, you can see it's a wider bottom. So all I did for this one was I made more chains at the start, had more stitches along, and then I did exactly the same method of every other row. I did 2 single crochets in the start and the finish stitches, and then made single crochets in between. So a row of increasing, then a row plain, and then a row of increasing and a row plain. So I just started with more chains and more stitches, but did it exactly the same way. And the handle, I think I just made a bit smaller. I did less chains and less stitches. And I didn't put a drink in this one. I just left it at the top straight edge of single crochet. I didn't do the double crochets or anything to shape the sides. I just left it plain. And then you can see that I've just crocheted a small sort of rectangle here, left a piece of yarn just to sew in at the back, and then I've just done a letter T on there just with a piece of yarn and a needle, just to have that tea bag there. So that was a wider and slightly shorter one, and without the top. And then I did a small one like this and did a small sort of sticky out handle there. Again, just used the same basic pattern. This one, I can see I didn't do the single crochet around, so you can see that bumpy edge there. But I think it still looks good without that. And this is an unnamed tea bag. So there we go. And then spread these out, just move the tablet out the side. Then I did a small one with some black coffee in it. Again, this one, there we go. I did the same basic pattern. I started with the same size, but I just did less rows of the 12 stitches across. I just stopped it quite short and then did those top 3 rows. Okay, so I did the row of the cup with the shape, and then I did the drink, and then I did the back loop only of the slip stitches. And then obviously did a small handle there, so that's more of a cup shape and that's more of a mug. Okay, so that's a small one there. And then I got into doing some taller sort of latte cups here, and I did some stripes on there, although this looks a bit more like a beer mug really, but did a stripe on there, did the drink. This one I did the drink without doing the shape, just did it straight across, and then I've done some foam on the top for my latte or cappuccino. Okay, this one I didn't put a drink in. Yeah, I have put a drink in there, and I've done some stripes across the middle, so just had a play with those stripes there. And this one has less shaping. This one's quite sort of shaped at the bottom. You see this one's shaped at the bottom like this one, but this one I've done with less growing, less widening. So there we go. And then this one I did a nice wide cup, so again I didn't take it up quite so high like this one, and I've made it nice and wide, and I put some brown there for some hot chocolate, and done some cream and some marshmallows. So you really can play with this pattern as much as you like, change it up. You know, extra stitches, more rows, smaller handles, different drinks, literally however you like. Even just changing the handles makes a difference. And then, as I said, putting some stripes on here. You could do different colour cups. I kept these to red. My kitchen's red. All the accessories in it were trying to have red, so I did red and white. But you could just have so many different colour cups and patterns, just literally whatever you like. You could do some embroidery on it, make them patterned, whatever you like. So that's how you can change it up. I've told you how to make the tea bags, just literally a few rows of single crochet, tie it off, leave a piece of yarn to tie on the back like so, and you can leave this hanging free, or I just sewed it on the back so it doesn't sort of flop around, and that one I just put the letter T. So you could literally do what you like for these. I will show you how to do some cream. This one here, I literally, well, both of them I just free-handed. I didn't know what I was doing. This one I've tried to make look like it's spilling, oh, out of the camera, sorry. Tried to make it look like it's spilling over the side of the cup, and then just did these little marshmallows on top. So I'll show you how to do that now, and then I'll leave you to just play and do whatever you feel like. So let's, I'll just show you quickly how to do some cream or foam. Okay, now I don't have a white in this chunky yarn, so I'm just going to use some regular DK yarn. It won't look quite as good, but I'll just show you how you can do this. I'm going back down to a 4.5mm hook. So join your yarn, a white or a cream, into the first stitch of your drink colour. So this is where you don't necessarily need that back row, okay? You could just leave it just as I have done here. So I didn't do, you can see here, I didn't do a top row of mug because you can't see it, okay? So join your yarn into the first stitch of your drink colour, and then chain 3. Now this is just giving you an idea of how to make it. You can experiment with your, let me move these into view so you can see what we're doing. You can experiment with your frothy milk and cream as much as you like, okay? This is just how I did it, so, or this is how I've worked out that I probably did it. I don't know exactly how I did these, it was a long time ago and I didn't write it down, so going to do this approximately and how I've written it in the pattern. So we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to do a double crochet in each of the first 5 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to go straight back into this same stitch and do a double crochet, and then into the next 5 stitches, sorry, next 4 stitches. This is just approximate, you don't have to go exactly into the next 4 stitches. Okay, so there we go. And then just to give it some shape, we're going to do 2 half double crochets. So next 2 stitches are half double crochet. Okay, and then double crochet in the next 4 stitches. Keep catching my purple yarn there. Okay, and then chain 3 and slip stitch to the last stitch, and that gives you a row of frothy milk or cream. Okay, now that's quite a small row compared to my yarn here, but it's roughly this piece here. Okay, so that's kind of gives you some foamy milk on top of there. The other way you can do it, which I didn't do in the pattern, is you can do your chain 3, oops, 2, 3, and then again another double crochet, and then do a few double crochet into one stitch, so it makes a kind of shell. Okay. And then a single crochet in the next stitch, and then go into the next stitch and do some double crochet, and a single crochet in the next, single crochet or slip stitch, and then keep working along and making double crochets into stitches. I'll show you how this looks in just a moment. Let's do a few more. Single crochet. I'm going to do another single crochet. Excuse me. Okay, I'm just going to do a few single crochet along here and then do some double crochet into the last two, just to take it along. Okay, and then do some more into this one. And this one may look a little bit more like cream, whipped cream, because it has a bit more of a shape to it. So foamy milk tends to be more straight across, but whipped cream tends to have more of a shape. So that's what I'm doing here. Slip stitch. Okay, just cut that and show you this one. Here we go. So this one, it's all sort of bunching up a little and looking all sort of like whipped cream, more so. Okay, you can see here I just skipped those couple of stitches so that I could do the last bit of cream. So this looks a little bit more like cream has been whipped and piped on top. Okay, and that's just doing several stitches in one stitch rather than singly along. Okay, this one is in each stitch, this one is several into each stitch, and then going down for your single crochet. Okay, so to make marshmallows, now I know marshmallows tend to come in white and pink, but I didn't think there was much point in making white marshmallows on top of white. It wouldn't show very much, so I purposely did pink. And these, I just went for it and just did a few stitches. But I have sort of worked out and popped in the pattern how you can do these. So join your yarn into the top of some cream. So I might just do one down here actually, on the side here. So just join the yarn into any place on top of your cream. And then chain 2. And then do 3 half double crochets along. I'm going to do 1 in that first stitch, and then 1 in the next, and 1 in the next. Okay, and that is all you would need for a marshmallow. You could do 1 in the next stitch if you wish. Depends how big your marshmallows are, and then just do a chain 2 and slip stitch back into that last stitch that you made, and then fasten off. Okay, and there is a marshmallow. And then you could do another one on top. You could do it with single crochet if you prefer. You could do a couple of rows of single crochet, entirely up to you. This is your work, your design. You could even sew some little pieces of brown to make it chocolate sprinkles. Entirely up to you. So chain 2, and then a half double crochet in that same stitch, half double crochet in the next stitch. Something's gone wrong with my yarn there. Let's try that again. So half double crochet in that same stitch, and then half double crochet in the next, and the next, and the next. Chain 2 and slip stitch back into that last stitch. and fasten off. You can see I've been quite generous. I've made quite large marshmallows. You could do another row if you want them bigger, or you can make them smaller, entirely up to you. And then all that's left is just to sew in all your ends and finish it off. There you go. So you can literally change these up however you like. Okay, so make as many cups and mugs and drinks as you like, and then when you've got them all together, come and see me back, and I will show you how we're going to put these all together to make a nice garland for your kitchen, dining room, wherever you want to put it. Okay, so before we attach these together, lay them out in whatever order you want them to be in. You might want to block them first if they're a bit curly. You can also block them afterwards as well, that's totally fine. But go ahead and block them if you prefer, and then come back to the video when you blocked them, so like in a day or so when they're dry. So lay them out in the order and then just stack them up in reverse order, okay, and have the first one on top. So then take your yarn that you're going to use to connect these. I'm going to use this sort of goldy beige colour, and you're going to need a needle and a hook for this, okay. Now, I have shown you how you can attach to a ring before. I've shown you that on previous videos. You can look in the description box below for the bunting and garlands playlist. I've talked to you about attaching to a metal or wooden ring when you just tie this to a ring, or you can use this and tie a knot and have a loop just of your yarn. That's completely fine. And I'm going to show you a method. I think I've shown it before, but I'm going to show it today for this one because I think it's rather cute. So I'm going to pop a slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to chain 10. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch into the first chain at the bottom. Now this is how we would often start a piece of work, with a chain 4 in slip stitch, but then we're going to use this loop here to hang it up, okay. If you want a bigger loop, you can just chain more and then slip stitch into the first one, okay. And then I am going to chain 20, and that's what I'm going to have to reach my first cup. Now if you want to have more or less chains, that's completely fine. You can just chain longer or shorter. So I'm going to chain 20. Okay, so I've got 20 chains there, and then what I'm going to do is just do a slip stitch in there, and I'm going to pull through a lot of yarn. Okay, so I'm just going to cut some yarn, and we're going to pull that all the way through. Pull this all the way through. So now that chain is secure, not going to go anywhere. And I'm going to thread my needle with the other end. You can measure along the length of your cups and check how much yarn you need, but I'm just going to wing it. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to sew through the back of our cups, and we're going to just sew through back bumps so that it can't show from the front. So I'm going to go into the side here, maybe a couple of rows down, and I'm just going to go under these back bumps, and the way you know it's not going to show, look at the front and you can't see any needle there. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this all the way through until it meets my chain. Okay, chain's there. So I'm just going to secure this by going under again, under that same stitch, pull through, and that's nice and secure now. Okay, not going to go anywhere. And then I'm just going to come along every sort of 2 or 3 stitches, crochet stitches, and go under and just sew it along. So every sort of 2 or 3 stitches. Just check at the front that you can't see the needle, and then go under that back bump. You don't have to secure every stitch, it will be fine. You don't have to go sort of under and over every stitch, it will be fine. So again, you can't see it at the front there. So just make sure that you are going through the back bump only. Some motifs, we sewed our connecting yarn on the pennant bunting, and we had the stitches showing at the front, and that was perfect. It looked great on that, but I think it was perfect for that design. But personally, I think this one is better without showing at the front. So if you're not sure, just double check again at the front that you can't see your needle, and pull that through. There we go. Okay, and then because our stitches sort of go sideways, I've gone sort of up and then I've gone down, up and down. Okay, and then I'm just going to go into a stitch near the end, and this is where I'm going to secure it on the end. Okay, so I'm just going to secure it through that stitch like I did at the start. Now if you look here, you can see it through the front, so I've messed that one up. So what I'm going to do is pull my needle out, and then I'm just going to pull this stitch back through. And so if you check after each stitch, you can make sure that if you need to pull it out, you can do. And start again on that stitch. Okay, so there we go. Right, let's start again on that stitch. So I've got my needle threaded again. So we all make mistakes, and it's fine. As long as you check early enough, you can correct it. So I'm going to go through the back, and there we go. Okay, there we go. So you can't see that through the front, but it's there and all ready to hang. Okay, and it's not going to slide along either. So then I'm going to take my next motif, and I'm going to leave a little gap between because we've got the width of the handle. Okay, so we're going to have a piece of yarn between. So just go into the next one. Again, go under those back bumps, and then pull through. And I'm just going to turn this over so I can see how far apart I want it. So maybe just give a slight gap there like so, and then I'll go back under and secure that. Okay, so that's nice and secure, and they're not going to slide along or go anywhere. And then I'm just going to continue along the back of this one, and then I will attach this one, leaving a slight gap as well, and I'll continue all the way to the end, and then I'll see you back to do our last chain and loop at the end. So attach them all, and then I'll do the last part with you. Pause the video and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, once they are all sewn together, I've just piled them up to the side, and I've taken my needle out of my remaining yarn. And so we're going to start crocheting from this piece of yarn coming from the last cup. Okay, and what we want to do is start down the bottom here. Now, if you know how to get a slip knot on your hook, or how to start from just a hook and a piece of yarn here, then go ahead. The way I like to do it is pop my hook under and round, and then come as close as I can to the work, and then twist, and then yarn over and pull through, and that gives me my first kind of chain or slip knot. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I've chained 30, and the reason I've chained 30 is because this first one I did 10 and then 20. So when we do the other end, we need to add those together and do the whole thing to start with. So if you did more chains, if you did a big loop here and you had say 20 chains for your loop, and then you had 20 here, then you will need to crochet 40 chains at the end. Okay, equally, if you did only 10 here then and 10 here, you just need 20. Okay, so you need the total of the chains that you did at the start. You need to do all of those at the end, because then, so I've done 30 because I did 10 and then 20 on this side. Okay, so I've done 30, and then I'm going to count back 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to do my slip stitch into that 10th chain to make my loop, just as I had at the beginning. So now I have my chain 10 loop and my 20 chains here. Okay, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the next chain just to secure that slightly, and then fasten off. Leave a tail, and I will sew that back in around my loop. Okay, and there we go. And wow, I did quite a good guess of yarn. I've not got too much left, but you could also always do a magic knot somewhere along the middle if you needed to. You could just hide it behind one of your cups and that would work fine. So let me spread this out, see if I can move the camera up and show you the finished product. And there we go. There are my finished cups and mugs all strung together, and they have a loop on both ends for hanging up. There we go. So I can't wait to see what you've done with this. I can't wait to see what cups and mugs you've made and what colours you've made, whether you've given them cream or frothy milk, whether you've made some tea bags. I can't wait to see what you've done with